Testing, testing. Is everything working? Testing, testing. Is everything working? Testing, testing. I hope I didn't somehow mess up my capture. Sweet. So nothing was messed up, and well, really with the nothing was messed up, and well, with the way the renovations went, not really much got done here in my room, sadly. So I'm still dealing with this. I don't know why I'm getting playback though. Let me fix that. That was why. Makes sense. Well, hey everybody. It's been a crazy week. From waiting on renovations really the renovation part in my room that had me messed up was the windows being done where they needed 3 feet of clearance. Windows literally, I'll just show you. Windows literally right here. And I had to move my guitars into the bathroom, move my bed, and keep this covered so that way no debris would get on, well, the equipment. So it's been a messy few days. Every morning I had to move my bed, and every day I had to move my guitars into the bathroom. Then just to use the bathroom, I had to move my guitars out the bathroom. So, yeah. Oh, did I mention the part where my mom had to go to urgent care because her blood glucose got low? So yeah, it's been a crazy week. By the way, that blood glucose issue happened on Friday. So I was kind of checked out on Saturday, but enough about me. Hope everyone is doing all right. Again, apologies for not being able to make any videos. Weather pattern is continuing to do some weird stuff here based off of model guidance here, so it's going to be really interesting covering everything. Then I saw everything that was happening last week. For example, what was going on in New York. That was the day that they were originally scheduled to do the windows. So when that failed, yeah, there's nothing I could really do. But that being said, I also am aware of what's going on in the tropics. We have Felipe and Rena ongoing. Both at this point actually look like they're slated to go out to sea and remain weak here. Felipe looks the most interesting, but even so, that turn is coming really soon. How is metal and weather predicted? Well, I just play metal, and then I just mess around with weather. That's it, Brian. That's all there is to it. I'm just different from most. That's all. It's a good try, though. Good try. Anyway, this is a tropical storm, now to be tropical depression, Rena. Not much going on there, of course. So it looks like we're going to be spared from the looks of it for right now. So I guess since this is a live stream, I'm trying to figure out what order should I do this in, because we're just starting the month of October too, so there's the outlook to look at. There's the next 10 to 16 days we could look at. There's severe weather on the forefront as well. So I guess, what do you guys want to see? What do you guys want me to go over first? It's not going to be a super long stream or anything like that. Obviously, nothing's really going on, but figured I'd at least try to touch base with you guys. All 5 of you right now. Yes, indeed. Also, hopefully October will be a little bit cooler in regards to temps. I'm about over summer. Yeah. Good chunk of the country seems relatively calm unless you get towards the high plains here. There's chances of thunderstorms across the board, but yeah. But what do you guys want to see? I guess I could make a voting poll. Hope everyone's day is going well so far, though. Really do. Hopefully you've had a better week than I've had, for sure. That was rough. Oh, and by the way, just in case I didn't mention it, they still haven't done the windows. Help me. I gotta do all this crap again in the morning. Gotta move all this crap, including my bed. Help. If anyone's watching any football, NASCAR, or really whatever sports are on, let me know. I love talking sports too. Dang it, why is my other computer not working right now? Just give me a second, guys. Tropics. Oh, I know. I was just trying to make myself feel better, Beck. That's all. I've been tired with all this stuff too. We'll figure it out later, contingents. I'm sure there's a backdoor way to get it in there without a problem. Yeah, this bed behind me is a queen size bed. So I literally have to move this off to the corner here. Like I said, all my guitars are next to the window. Gotta move that. Then, of course, if they break this computer system, I'm gonna be a whole nother level of like angrier, just flat out pissed. So yeah, it's rough times right now. But once they get the windows done, they won't have to be in my room anymore. So I'm good after that. Terrible, Tuck. They're going terrible. They're going terrible. They're still not done. Just thankfully they don't work on the weekends. Dear God. It's been horrible. They haven't even gotten to this one, but I think I'm almost certain that I'm next to get Windows. That's literally the only thing that's been holding me back this week is the Windows. Yeah, it's been enough to drive me mad. Oh, and like I said, did I mention the part where my mom's blood glucose was like 40 on Friday afternoon? We had to take her to urgent care too, so that's also coming to play. Tropics. Almost done with the voting poll. I'm trying to remember what other options there are. Okay, there we go. Poll is done. You guys choose what you want to see first. Appreciate that, Tuck. Mom's all right now. It was a little scary though. Put it in perspective for you. Any blood glucose that gets below 100 isn't great. Usually 100's a good number. Once you start getting below 80, start raising alarms, and then by the time you get all the way down to the 70s and below, that's a big problem. Like, she'll still be all right at 70, and if you catch it in time, it's not going to be a big problem. But once you start getting into 50 and 40, that's really dangerous. Well, actually, I think the number's slightly higher than that. Really, 80 is a problem, and once you go lower than that, it becomes really dangerous. But yeah, 40's 40, you start to see the subject end up being a little bit more almost delirious in a way, and also really weak. Sometimes you'll see, depending on their condition, it'll be profuse sweat, like a cold sweat, that type of deal. But yeah, it's rough. It's not the first time this has happened. My mom's also type 2, by the way, Beck, so definitely understanding. Pops was type 2. A couple days ago was actually the 10-year anniversary of his passing. So, yeah. That's also been a tough. So, like I said, it's been a tough week. All right, so what you guys got on the voting poll so far? Everyone's evenly divided right now. The tie has to be broken. It's okay, Tuck. He had, like I said, he had type 2 and he had neuropathy, so he was going through a lot at the time. So, as much as it sucks to have that happen, at the same time, I hated seeing him have to limp around every day because of it. So, you know, you gain something to lose. You lose something to gain something, I guess. So, is what it is. Sorry to hear that, Beck. That's a terrible time for that to happen too. No time's the right time, but right around holiday season's got to be the worst. Okay, so we're leaning towards severe setups right now. We're at 50% on that. All right. I'll probably see if a couple more people vote in the next few minutes, and then we'll kind of go from there. Also, make sure you're hitting that like button, hitting that share button as well. I'm pretty sure I'm way out of the algorithm at this point because of how long it's been since I made that last video. So I'm getting, yeah. Ouch. Lost your dad and your cat in the same year. Ouch. It's rough. That is a tough one. Hey, we take it on the chin and we keep moving, though. Definitely do. But yeah, September's always been a weird month for me. Even with YouTube, September's always been a weird month. That's usually been like one of my slowest months. Like, for example, I usually will average about 20 subs a month on here, 20 subscribers or so. I didn't even hit that. I had like what, 16 or something views and all that stuff. All the analytics are always low in September. I don't know why that is. It just is what it is. But hey, it's whatever. Well, yeah, I think Severe Setups is definitely winning this one. That being said, let's go ahead and get into it. So, well, I could actually kind of knock out two birds with one stone with the mid-range forecast in a way. So, I'll start out by looking at what the Storm Prediction Center has, and then we'll kind of go from there. Cool thing is, with me scheduling this at 3, a lot of model updates have just finished, so I'm getting the most up-to-date model runs right now. So, it's good timing. But here's today's outlook. This is the Southern High Plains over here. It's a very familiar area for us. Isn't that right, contingents? But in all seriousness, though, from Fort Stockton towards east of Santa Fe over towards Clovis, New Mexico here, marginal risk for severe storms. All hazards are possible, but the numbers aren't very high. There even is a 2% area over here towards eastern New Mexico here. High Plains, never heard of her. Okay. Yeah, you know exactly where we are right now. We've covered this area a bunch in June. But this is the setup for today, and then it's also going to persist into tomorrow, where parameters do improve a bit. We get into a slight risk now. Pretty much the same area, but the wind and hail threats have increased at this point. And then just the marginal risk is all the way from the Canadian border all the way to the Mexican border. That's crazy to see there. But like I said, pretty much a similar deal here. And then on day 3, can't get a look at the hazard types on day 3, as I've mentioned plenty of times before, especially anyone that might be new. But pretty much from Garden City, areas towards west central Kansas, all the way down to the Mexican border, there's a chance for severe weather, slight risk in particular. I'm definitely leaning towards maybe a squall line type setup, or maybe multicellular forms. And then on days 5 and 6, predictability too low for severe weather. Things do end up becoming a little bit more calm by days 6 through 8. And I'm going to show you exactly why I think that is after I read the synopsis here. But as far as Wednesday is concerned, and this is pretty much no surprise, I was talking about this in the last video I made. Pretty much upper level trough is going to be located over the Mississippi Valley, the Great Lakes, and we'll shoot up into North Canada. Secondary trough eventually develops, and this is what's going to create the severe setup. And then front will trail southwestward from that exiting upper trough, and this is what's going to end up sparking this setup that we were partially part of the setup that we're looking at. And then also, like I said, with day 4, that's really going to involve a lot more of the southeast, so there's a chance of severe weather. No guarantees with that, of course. I've been seeing a lot. I've been still watching with the model data. I just couldn't make videos. But pretty much anywhere across the southeast here, mainly thinking towards Louisiana, Mississippi, maybe Alabama, we're going to see more of a chance for severe weather. Georgia, I think you're going to end up staying out of this. Maybe the Carolinas could end up into it, or even maybe southern Georgia. Atlanta right now, it looks like you're out of the line of fire. But like I said, the model's been flip-flopping on this for a minute. Once we get to days 6 through 8, the flow is going to end up becoming more zonal, and I'm actually going to show you exactly what I'm talking about here. So go to 12Z here, because I've been watching it even this morning, just trying to make sure I'm staying up with the trends here. A 50-track project, sheesh. Well, I'm not exactly up to date here with what your Ableton project is particularly, but 50 tracks just from being a musician, I can imagine that it's a pretty big project, to say the least. Yeah, this trough does look insane, contingents. But the orientation of it is the only thing. Can't get any moisture, and can't get really any moisture in with the way it's orientated right now. Not in the same manner. It's a little harder to get it from the Pacific, it always seems. Shoot, I'll put it to you like this. The most tracks I've ever put into a song might be, well, it's this current one that I'm working on. I might even give you guys a sneak peek of what I've been doing. I'm not going to show you anything I'm not going to show you how to play the parts, obviously, because I need to get the song copyrighted, that kind of stuff. I don't want anyone to steal it, even though it's nothing much to it. But still, yeah, don't want anyone to steal it and try to copyright me for my own song. That would be absolutely insane. But anyway, yeah, this trough looks good, contingents, starting out, but the issue is the orientation, if you ask me, right, like at this point. Otherwise, I'd be saying we might be seeing a severe setup like all the way over here towards freaking Utah even. But things do start to look a little bit more impressive as we get into Monday here. I do think there's a chance that this threat could be a little bit further off to the east than what's being portrayed by the SPC here. I think there could be like a little secondary area up here where the tornado threat's a little bit greater. Like I could see this area being a point of interest, but I'm thinking this area also over here towards South Dakota, maybe western Nebraska could be a point of interest too. It really just depends on if there's a capping inversion there, or how strong the capping inversion would be in said area. Forcing doesn't look all that great, so that could be an issue. But so we go into Tuesday. Setup looks a tiny bit more impressive. Only thing with this is I'm thinking that compared to what SPC had, I think they're going to move it off to the east as well. I'm thinking more so towards maybe Kansas, Missouri, Oklahoma might have a better shot at severe weather than what's being portrayed too. Maybe parts of Nebraska as well, especially towards southeastern Nebraska. Then as this trough exits out like it's been portrayed by the Storm Prediction Center, a little secondary area pops up here, and this is what I've been looking at for the it does develop into a negative tilt there for sure. But this is that area that I'm talking about where I'm slightly concerned for the southeast there for sure. Yeah, by this point, yeah, it's gone. But then this little secondary branch of trough kind of develops here. But it just doesn't really keep itself organized enough to really be too concerning for a severe threat across the southeast. I think there could be like a marginal chance over here towards Louisiana, Arkansas, maybe Alabama, Texas too. But of course, by this point, we see an impressive looking trough, but I just don't think anything else really comes together along with it. And this is where Contendants always gets his heart broke, because he always looks for severe weather chances over towards Boston, but nothing ever really happens. This setup definitely does not seem to favor you all that much. Could be a little pocket where you have a shot at it. I'm really concerned about rainfall over towards that region once again, though. Trough gets out of there. Start to see this big ridge start to develop around the 10th. And it's odd that I've noticed this trend all throughout the year for most of the months. Between pretty much late spring throughout summer, it's always been, we've seen the warmest weather start to occur towards the middle of the month. I kind of find a little bit of humor in that, I'm not going to lie. But this is where things kind of get a little wacky here. Looks like we start to see a cool down try to take place with this trough here. And then this is really interesting. I'm not going to put much merit into it, obviously, because how far out we are. 288 hours is a long time and a lot of time for things to change. So definitely something that I'm not going to put too much merit in at this point. Might as well in that voting poll, people are still voting. And also thanks for everyone who did vote, though. Appreciate you guys. But as a whole here, this looks kind of odd, but also really interesting. If this actually would develop into a more organized trough, this could be a problem for the Tennessee Valley, the Ohio Valleys, maybe even the Southeast. So it's definitely something I'm going to keep an eye on. But a big cool down is also going to be associated with this if this plays out as well. It's going to bring well below average temperatures to start out the middle of the month for sure. I'm trying to figure this out. Like I said, I wouldn't put much merit into this because look how far out we are. Like literally 300 plus hours out. So, yeah, it's literally a freaking fidget spinner. But, yeah, I wouldn't put much merit into this. But if this does play out, we could be seeing 40-degree temperatures all the way over towards your neck of the woods already by mid-October. Like I said, I don't put a lot of merit into that at all. So if this actually plays out, I would be highly surprised. But yeah, it would cause a cool down even towards Florida. We would definitely see a lot less 80s and 90s across that region for sure. Oh, man. I look forward to seeing that after the stream for sure. And then here's a look at the mid-levels from the Euro model. It's another model I like to use. I usually try to look at multiple models at a time and then just kind of find a good middle ground between the two. For the most part, these two have been pretty consistent with each other. So this is always a good thing. It always makes forecasting a bit easier across the board for pretty much anyone. There are a couple interesting features that I do see here that are comparably different between the two. Like, looks like this is some kind of low that's trying to form offshore here. That's associated with that front, but nothing really comes of it. It's pretty much a similar deal here in regards to the trough itself. And then here's that ridge. The ridge does seem like it's a little bit more off to the west, just a little bit. But even so, the trend itself definitely leans towards the heart of the country having a little bit of a ridge. Probably calmer weather. Not as hot, though. It definitely seems like it's a bit cooler from the looks of it as well. Then it's also cooler across the southeast. And then we start to watch this next setup come into play here, but only thing about the Euro, we only can go up to about 10 days out. You remember one day before Halloween, super duper foggy, and playing football in the field at night with all the decorations. I wish I could have done something like that when I was a kid. Would have been nothing like playing, whether it was an official game or a pickup game at Halloween. I think the season always ended by the time it was Halloween when I used to play. All right, so looking at the pattern ahead here, definitely looks like some interesting stuff going on in the early part of the week, and then after that, it looks like it gets pretty calm. But temperatures are going to be a big thing for sure. So I guess now we can probably start looking at some convective models here. I'm going to look at the NAM actually this time around. You're just playing football with friends, huh? Still, I would have loved to have done that. I think it would have been pretty cool. Playing football in the snow, I guess, was good enough, especially since it happened in Georgia, of all places. Not somewhere you would immediately expect it to be snowing at, but hey, it happened. Fun times. Okay, so I'm going with the NAM 3 kilometer here in regards to severe weather threat. Keep in mind the areas that we're going to be looking at are mainly going to be towards the southern high plains here, and then more so towards the heart of the country, maybe the central plains, Midwest, just a little bit. Southeast could also have some decent moisture returns. This is definitely one of the key components to severe weather. So this is what we're dealing with throughout the day to day. We get some solid dew points. We're getting into the mid 60s here. And I think this is what's going to allow things to maybe get going here. Look at a sounding here. We got severe analog here. Main threat is definitely looking like damaging winds based off of some of the parameters seen here. Decent lapse rates. Nothing super duper steep. 7 is a solid number. And then instability is pretty solid here. Low level shear is what's lacking. The directional shear in particular. And then also the significant hail parameter isn't necessarily low, nor is it high. But those mountains that are around the high plains are always a wild card too. Yeah, that was pretty much what I was getting at right there, Contingents. You nailed it right on the head. Good thermos, blah, kinematics. You have some winds over there. Well, during this time of year, winds often tend to increase just in general across a large part of the country. especially towards the surface. So moving to Tuesday, much more, notable moisture return here for sure. We're getting well into the same areas again. I think this is why they haven't pushed it off to the east further here. Of course, this model might have a new run coming in within the next little bit. The NAM always takes a little bit longer to upload. It's a lot like the global models, just a shorter range version of them. But across the board here, does look like a little bit better moisture returns off to the east. Still getting into those 60-degree dew points. Usually that's a good threshold number, about 55 to 60 degrees on the dew points. Then as time goes on, we go into Tuesday here. A little bit more impressive moisture returns here, getting into the 70s, and definitely seeing a trend more to the east with that. So at least for Tuesday, maybe Wednesday, we could be looking at a little bit of a push off to the east with the severe weather. Definitely favoring a look towards a dry line developing here, just based off looking at this model data here. So it's another thing to take note of. New model for this will probably come in like 5 or 6 o'clock, I would say. After that, go ahead and look at some other parameters here. Just based off of that sounding that we were looking at, Cape looked pretty impressive for the next day or so, I would say. So here's what we're looking at for tonight. Looking pretty solid here. About 3,000 joules for Cape. Usually a good number to start out with severe weather would be about 1,000. We're at a relatively explosive environment towards the center of east central New Mexico here. Tour sounding, but again, like I said, I'm not going to put too much merit into that, considering the fact that kinematics aren't really impressive, especially at the low levels. There's some decent winds there, but the directional shear is not super impressive. There is some to work with, but it's relatively minimal. Of course, keep in mind, gravity waves off the mountains can also be a wild card, so it's not like a tornado chance can't happen. We've been proven wrong plenty of times this year, as we've seen over here. Plenty of overperforming days. This could be possibly one. Doesn't show a lot of indication of that being so. So just have to keep a close eye on it. And then as we go into tomorrow, pretty much the same area, similar amount of Cape, just about at 2,500, 3,000 joules per kilogram. Take a look at the sounding for that. Slightly better kinematics here. Not super impressive still. The threat for hail seems a little bit more notable. Just kind of push this forward a couple of hours here. Kinematics do look like they start to improve just slightly. Damaging wind potential also improves. And then actually this looks rather decent at this point. This is about OOZ, which would be about 8 o'clock my time. And then eventually we start to see it drop off just shortly after. So the peak would be somewhere around, I would say, probably 6 o'clock mountain time, because that's about the range that we're at for this time. And then last but not least, we're going to Tuesday. Instability is a little further off to the east, a tiny bit further off to the west than I expected, but nonetheless here, pretty much a similar deal. Cape's going to be highest right around 5 o'clock. Kinematics probably will kick in a little bit later. Storms are a little bit elevated, so I'm leaning into the hail threat a little bit more so than the tornado threat. Then after that, we look later into the model run. We start to lose things. Things start to kind of fall off a bit with that. Really think by this point the dry line will start to bear down on this. We'll probably see higher likelihood of storms, but less potential for tornadoes. But this pretty much seems to be the story across the board with this setup. Good thermodynamics, so definitely thinking that hail and damaging winds are going to reign supreme out of all the threats. As far as tornadoes are concerned, I'm not expecting too much out of that. So that's the severe weather side of things. Let's go ahead and take a look at what lies ahead here alongside the temperatures, and then we'll kind of get into the outlooks. Also, while I'm at it, oh wow, I've clicked the wrong model. I have two GFS models up. That's funny. If you see me looking off to my left here, I am watching the NASCAR race too. Yeah, I've noticed that from time to time, but I never could really confirm it. But the fact that Trey's saying that does give me a little bit of reassurance there for sure. So, definitely going to be keeping an eye on all of those days. Monday seems like a sneaky day for sure. Monday definitely has my attention the most out of the three. Yeah, I definitely think Monday and Tuesday. I think Tuesday in particular definitely seems like a damaging wind downburst type of day. Monday might have a better shot at tornadoes, but it's still a toss up. And then seeing that little bit of model discrepancy always makes me a little bit more unsure. All right, so I guess we'll pick GFS in the Euro. We'll pick GFS first. Or no, Euro's already on it. I'm just gonna set this up so we can go to it next. So here's what we're dealing with now. This is the time frame right here. So this is today's current forecast on the temperatures based off the Euro. Might be a little bit overdone slightly here, but do get some 90s today across the heart of the country. Get towards 80, 81 degrees over here towards my neck of the woods. 80s in Florida, 70s across a large part of the mid-Atlantic. 80s are still reigning supreme all the way up towards the Canadian border. Maybe even some 80s sneak into some parts of southern Canada. Not any triple digits, which is nice to see. And then over towards Arizona, southern Arizona, we get some 90s there. So get later into the evening, we start to cool off rather nice. Lows tonight probably will lean more towards the 60s, towards the eastern half of the country. Still plenty of 70s out west, out into the heart of the country. Then we get a pretty nice cool down over here across a good part of the western half of the country. Of course, the southwest is going to be a little bit warmer. No surprises there. Then towards Florida, another night in the mid to upper 70s. By tomorrow, pretty similar deal. 90s across the heart of the country, potentially towards particularly towards Texas. And then across the eastern half of the country, we seem to be cooling down just a little bit, which is nice. Definitely need that for work. Then as we go into the then going to the days ahead here, does warm up a little bit before that front passes through that's associated with the trough. But after this upcoming weekend here, temperatures start to look really nice at this point. Does look like it tries to warm up a little bit more in Florida in the days ahead. But I think by the time we get into next week, we'll eventually see Florida begin to cool down as well. And then across large portion of the middle of the country, we start to see that cool down as that warm air tries to push off to the east when that ridge starts to kick in. Then over here towards the southwest, of course, nothing's really changed here. Monsoonal flow might be coming into play as well. Then, comparison to the GFS, not really expecting too much to be different here. It's going to be warmer towards the earlier part of the week for a lot of people. Then as we get towards the latter half, especially once the trough kicks in here, we're going to start to see that cool down begin to take effect here. There's a day on, it looks like Saturday here is when I'm going to actually end up seeing temperatures below 70 here. Thanks, Lexi. Appreciate you. Glad you could make it. It'll be on video on demand, so you can just watch it back later if you want. It's not going to be a super long stream anyway. It's just me going over what's been going on and also looking at model data here. There's no urgent weather, anything like that. But yeah, towards the western half of the U.S., it looks like we're kind of getting into what I would consider more of a positive PNA setup. Whereas before we were kind of looking like it was going to be the opposite. It was going to be a negative PNA setup. A lot more cool air off to the west, warm air to the east, but we flip-flopped. But towards the weekend, we actually get some pretty crispy lows here across a large part of the eastern U.S. here, according to GFS. GFS is actually looking a little bit colder than Euro is right now. Oh, what the hell. That one always causes a little chuckle. Look at that even. Towards the mountains here, we're starting to get into the mid to maybe even a couple of low 30s sneaking in here and there. Here's one at 32 over towards the Appalachians. Resuscitates algorithm pushes. Oh, wow. Don't abuse the algorithm. What did it do? I'm just kidding. But also, as we get towards the middle of the end of this weekend, this upcoming weekend, does start to warm back up over towards Texas, but pattern does not stay dominant. We kind of remain in a little bit of a flip-flop type of deal, and then as time goes on, here's that big cool down that comes in. Even starting to see those 80s diminish by the middle of the month here, which is kind of wild at this point. But it's nice to see, though. I'm sure a lot of people are welcoming that. Algae rhythms. Ooh, let's figure out how to make algae rhythms and implement that into music. Towards the end of this run, where things get kind of wacky, starting to see a continued decrease in temperatures here. This would be on the morning of the 17th at the end of this run here. Starting to even see some 50s towards the panhandle of Florida, which is incredible to see there. Hey, slap it arithmetically. Wait, pause. Some people in here would have a field day with that. Anyway, but that's what we're looking at as far as the longer range data is concerned. Then after that, just take a look at what our precip is going to look like here. Euro is going to load a little faster, so we're going to go with that first. Then we'll kind of run from that point onward. So don't be surprised if you start to see some blue back in the picture here, especially over towards the west here, especially towards the mountains. That's snow, so of course we're getting into that time of year, so no surprises there. But yeah, just get ready. Season's changing, and it's changing pretty quick. So here's some of that mixed precipitation over there out west. It's going to be associated with this upcoming storm system. But here's a look at some of the maybe a little bit of mountain snow starting to kick in here. This system starts to produce its severe weather. And then after that, we see a couple of days of active weather across central plains here, especially towards Texas. Texas has always been the hot spot in the model runs as far as moisture is concerned. What's interesting to note here is the direction in which all of this is moving. It's moving off to the southwest, which is kind of amusing, but also kind of perplexing all at the same time. And here is the magical 540 line starting to kick in here. And this, while it isn't going to be a catalyst for snow over here towards the Great Lakes, definitely need to start watching for that. Before we know it, the Great Lakes machine is going to kick in, and we'll start to see that lake effect snow eventually starting to come into play here. As we go later into the month, towards the middle of the month, another storm system kicks in. And this one pretty much is going to be almost a carbon copy of the other one right now. You got to have the Thug Life glasses. Sheesh. All right, let's see what GFS has. GFS shows a little bit more snow. GFS has kind of been a little bit colder on this one. So definitely a little bit more to keep an eye out for there. Pretty much a similar deal with Texas. Definitely looking like a really weird possible flash flood setup. Let's hope that doesn't end up being the case. GFS definitely seems colder because we're well into the 540 line here. In case anyone doesn't know, the 540 line is the 32-degree line. So if you're below this line, you're below freezing. So cold air definitely starts to come in here. If I could exactly remember where Alberta is, I wouldn't call this an Alberta Clipper. I think Alberta's back this way if I remember correctly. You're not a dumb bum. I do that all the time. I especially get mad at myself when I forget when I'm going to work or going to the gym. Thankfully, I've learned to bring a spare pack of headphones with a book bag I bring. So, it's alright. I mean, we'll be here for a little bit. Then, like I said, it's video on demand, so you're good. As time goes on here, and actually, Lexi, speaking of which, this might be your area that we're looking at for potential of snow here. It could actually be a little off to the north, though. Yeah, it's actually going to be a little bit off to your north. But that low actually becomes really impressive over here towards Canada. Thank you for that contingence. But as we continue to go forward, here's our little carbon copy system 10 days out. Really doesn't look like it does a whole lot, but here's something that's interesting to note here is that this right here, watch closely. It looks like a tropical system that tries to develop here. Not anything super impressive. Probably will fall apart from wind shear, but it could bring additional moisture over towards Florida. And then as time goes on, still look pretty cold here, but that's pretty much all the main activity going on here. This is an interesting scenario if that comes to be. That would be that would make for a result of cold rain over here towards the Ohio Valley, and then maybe even towards the mid-Atlantic here and parts of the Northeast. Then as that is on its way out, looks like another low tries to form here. But of course, like I said dozens of times before, 384-hour run, we're at the max of it. Yeah, can't put much merit into it. Yeah, the algae one's gonna end up becoming an inside joke. I'm almost sure of it. Screenshot that so we can remember it, please. Put it in bloopers. Also going to put up the Discord server link. Yes, good, good. Well, can you tell I'm in the Halloween spirit? That was a crappy, I don't know who I was trying to impersonate. It's like a crappy rendition of Palpatine and probably someone else. I can't remember their name right now, though. Alright, so this is pretty much what we're looking like in the mid-range here. I guess now we'll go ahead and take a look at what the overall outlook for the month looks like, and then we'll go from there. This is what the precip outlook looks like for the country as a whole here. If you're in the brown area, you're likely to see below average chances for precip. If you're in the green, above average. Alaska is looking like it's going to be very active. And then if you're in the white area, that's an equal chance of precipitation. So northwest looks quiet. Eastern half of the country looks pretty quiet. And then Of course, like we said before, Texas has always been the bullseye for the moisture this time around. As far as temperatures are concerned, a lot of us still are expected to be above average here, but chances are on the drop here, on a decrease here. I might work on that when I get done with this. I might actually work on it. I think that would probably be a cool thing. And then I guess maybe if the memes are really good, I'll probably even make like little posts occasionally on here. Just try to get things going. Who knows? Maybe it'll make us go viral. Maybe that'll make us famous. Sweet. I'll still be here. I ain't going nowhere. Alaska looks like they're going to be above average, so they're getting all the increased activity in regards to the moisture and the heat. So, fun times for them for sure. So, we'll go ahead and take a look at the weeks ahead here. This is pretty much what the weather pattern will look like in comparison to what the average is. Usually we would, so we're seeing a ridge here, we're seeing a ridge here, and then here's our frontal system there. So go to week 2. Here's that trough coming in, ridge builds back in, and then by week 3, towards the latter half of the month, it looks interesting because the southeast looks like it's going to be cooler than average once again. Ridge starts to take back over. We're in a more zonal type setup as we get later into the month towards the tail end. And then as we get towards week 5, zonal flow coming back into play. So the severe weather threat starts to drop off here. Weather extremes look like they're going to be kind of on the decrease. You're going to probably, well, I wouldn't say I'm almost certain, but the confidence is pretty high that you'll see a pretty good decrease in temperature. Just how extreme is still yet to be seen because, we're looking well out in advance. So we'll look at the exact difference here with the temperature anomaly. This is week 1. This is going to be the hottest week by far here. Look how far above average we are across the board. This could be like 30 to 40, maybe even 50 degrees above average over towards Canada, which is crazy. Yeah, because if I remember last week, this changed dramatically from what it once was. It was almost the opposite here. Well, this is kind of what the negative PNA was looking like, but a little bit more, the cold air was a little bit more dominant. Like it was extending a little bit further off to the east here, but it changed so quickly and so abruptly. Then this is over towards week 2. Look at your area contingents. You're looking cold. Bye-bye severe weather chances. I'm just messing with you, dude. It's okay. Then as time goes on here, start to see the ridge come back into play. And thus with that, the increased temperatures could be seen maybe even 20 to 30 degrees above average over here towards the northern states. He died inside. I'm sorry. It's funny though. But as far as we go towards the 29th, towards the end of the month, this will be right around Halloween time. Slightly above average temperatures towards Florida. Not very much. Could be about maybe 5 to 10 degrees at best right now based off of this current look. And then towards the northern states here, towards the northern plains in particular, definitely seems like it's going to be the hottest area. Probably would say about 20 degrees above average, maybe closer to 30. Keep in mind, this is being shown in Celsius, so I have to actually do the math in my head here. They don't give me any real indicators on temperature like Radar Omega would. So as we continue to go forward, getting into November, right around my season, it does look like that ridge builds back in and the chance for above average temperatures increases once more, even though in all likelihood the temperatures are going to be kind of dropping off here at this point. But the precip anomaly is going to be a big story here as well. We continue to go forward here. Really going to be at a deficit here across the eastern half of the U.S. here to start out. Start to see that migrate a little bit further to the north. And then as we continue to go on, we start to see an increase in moisture as we get towards the latter half of the month. And then, just like I said, with that pattern being more zonal, the chance of rain just isn't going to be really that high. We do start to see an increase in rain potential maybe towards the northwest, towards the middle of November, at this early part of the run here, or this late part of the run here. So definitely something that'll need to be watched as we get further into November. But we'll cross that bridge when we get here. Hey, welcome, Lex. Full on welcome, I should say. That's pretty much what we're looking at here in regards to the short term over the next month. Yeah, El Nino really can be a bitter pill sometimes, and with one as strong as the one we're dealing with this year, it's definitely going to cause its fair share of problems. And then we'll go ahead and take a look at the seasonal outlook here. We're pretty much already looking at fall, but winter kind of gets a little bit interesting here. And we'll kind of get, and we'll touch on that momentarily here. This is the current 3-month outlook here. So it's pretty much got an interest. It's got this look of almost like a lot of troughs are going to be running through the heart of the country into the southeast, mid-Atlantic, Ohio Valley, etc. Northwest and the northeast look like they're going to actually be above average. Florida's slightly above average here. Alaska definitely looks like it's going to be the hot spot for above average temperatures with high confidence there. Now with the temperatures, well, that was with the temperatures. This the precip here. There's actually a little belt right here between southern Georgia and Panhandle, Florida, and just in the northern tip of the peninsula, or northern tier of the peninsula. Pause. We have really good confidence of above average precip within the next 3 months here. So somewhere along the line, it looks like the weather pattern is going to become increasingly active over there. And then, of course, towards the Great Lakes, we're looking like we're dealing with below average. Yeah, that's a pretty good trend actually. It's a pretty that's a pretty I can't speak right now, but yeah, that's actually correct though. Contingents. It's whenever we have this extreme change from weak El Nino to or weak La Nina to strong El Nino, this can sometimes happen. This tends to happen usually actually, but Northwest looks like it's going to be below average on precip, and then over towards the Great Lakes. Above average precip chances across Alaska as well. But yeah, this year has definitely lived up to that stereotypical transition here. So now that we've looked at that, let's go ahead and take a sneak peek at the winter here as well. So here's something interesting, and this is a trademark of El Nino sometimes, especially when you get the stronger El Ninos. A lot of warm air gets captured more in the northern states than it does the southern states, because I've been kind of studying on this during wouldn't call it my time off, but I wouldn't even call it frozen time. I don't know what to call it, to be honest. But that being said, I've noticed that the warmer than average air tends to be a little bit further off to the north, and if anything, the cooler than average and more active weather pattern will sometimes kind of favor the south a bit more. So we'll have to keep an eye on that and see how things play out. But interestingly enough, this could be a point of interest in regards to maybe winter weather. Hard to say right now. But southeast looks like there could be a pretty good opportunity considering the seasonal precipitation outlook. Keep in mind, this is over a 3-month period. So that being said, overall, I mean, usually you would think, okay, this is what I'm going to see every day. This isn't going to be that. It's just going to be slightly above average. Towards the coast especially, looks like it's going to be pretty active. Yeah, that's what I was saying, contingents. I probably just worded it wrong. I'm not used to talking this much about forecast and outlooks, so if I'm mixing up my words, I apologize. But yeah, that's probably what I was trying to say. But yeah, but yeah, whenever we switch back to La Nina, it's gonna be pretty much a similar deal. The extremes might be in a different location though in comparison to what we're seeing now. But yeah, I agree. What I was saying though, basically, in other words, is I'm agreeing with you. But anyway, this is definitely going to be something to keep an eye on if you live in the South, whether you do or don't want snow. All right. We'll see you in a little bit, Lex. So here's a cool feature that I can look at on here. I can actually look at the months ahead here, all the way up towards June. We're only going to look all the way into maybe February at best. And we're going to switch this up. We're not going to look so much into the precip and the temp anomalies here because of how far out we're looking. We're mainly going to be looking at the height anomalies because this could give us a slight sneak peek on what's ahead here. So this is what we're looking at right now. This is towards November, towards a large portion of it gonna be dominated mostly by a ridge here, some zonal flow. So weather pattern is looking pretty stable at this point. We do look like we try to trend into a little bit more active a pattern. Flow remains relatively zonal. Oh, we jumped a little too far ahead. We were in January. This is December. Still looking relatively zonal. We start to see a little bit of an increase in activity here, maybe towards the northern states. It's kind of a throw right here. Hey, Isaiah. And then as we continue to go on here towards February, don't necessarily see a pocket of any cooler than average air masses or anything like that. But we do continue to see that really dominant ridging that seems to be going over the northern tiers. He lost his account for some reason, contingents. I don't know why he couldn't log back in, but yeah, he can't. His old account is somewhere in limbo right now. Yeah, if you can help him with that, that's great. Cause I'm still wondering how the heck that even happened. What did you do? What did you do? But anyway, as far as overall patterns concerned, looks like right now we're pretty zonal for the start of it. But the thing is, we're looking really far out in the range here. Look at this, 4 months out. So, and then on top of that, this is based off of monthly guidance. This is not a week to week kind of guidance. Well, you shouldn't stop trying. It's a bunch of crap. That's what that is. The fact that they did that. Did they even tell you why? I guess I'll just go ahead and look at it for funsies. It doesn't really look like it's affecting much here. No real surprises there with it. With the temps expected to be above average there. Oh no. Yeah, that's gonna become a meme. That's gonna definitely become a meme. Okay, so this is January, February. Nothing really looking like it's gonna be above average here. That's even more odd. Yeah, I don't know what the heck's going on there. It's a messed up situation to be in. But I guess the last thing we're going to look at here is the tropics here, and then we're done after that. So I'm taking a look at Felipe here. Not expecting much. Kind of touched on this a little bit earlier. We can see that it's already going out to sea. May not even affect the Leeward Islands at this point now, which is good. Could see some tropical storm force winds at best. But outside of that, nothing major going on here. Same can be said really with Renee. Not even going to get close to Bermuda. Going to become a remnant low. Maybe even by tonight. By tomorrow, it's going to be a non-factor completely, just about. It's just going to be a complete fish storm. And then we have Typhoon Koinu, I guess you would pronounce that as Koinu. Looking pretty menacing from the looks of it here. It's Taiwan right here that we're looking at right now. Maybe it could be on the way to Hong Kong if it were to hold together. But this is expected to actually strengthen all the way up to 110 knots. Go ahead and click on it. So that would be almost the equivalent of a, that would pretty much be a high-end Category 3, maybe even borderline Cat 4, on the fringe of Cat 4, basically. So Taiwan might be in some trouble here. Let's hope this veers a little bit further out to sea here and eventually weakens. Spaghetti models look pretty crazy on this in regards to where it's going. It actually looks like it kind of is trending away from land a little bit. Vietnam may end up being impacted down the line, though. Hey, welcome back, Lexi. Pretty nice looking buzzsaw here in regards to the structure with this storm. If we can keep this out of land, though, that would be pretty nice. Here are the spaghetti models. There's a better look at the intensity. One of these models even has it up to Category 5. Good number of them have it up to Cat 4. I knew you were going to say that. Listen, when it's like 5, 6 o'clock in the morning, I'm prone to making those mistakes. Oh. Look at you. You want to get on to me, but you forgetting stuff too. How you like that? How you like that? And I guess you can add this to the edit then too. How about that? Perfect little segue for the end of the year. But anyway, though, looks like it's going to be a pretty impressive looking storm for a while here. So it might be something to keep an eye on. How about that? But that's what we're looking at right now. Towards the Eastern Pacific, there's some stuff going on as well. And interestingly enough, one of these does look like it's starting to turn towards land. So that might be something to keep an eye on as well. But if this does come together, what would the next named storm be again? Over towards the Eastern Pacific. Excuse me. It'll be Lydia. And then Koinu, of course, we're looking at as well. But if this forms into Lydia within the next 2 to 7 days, we're going to have to keep an eye on her. It's a pretty good chance that it will, based off of indicators there, saying a 90% chance of development within the next 7 days here. I don't expect a lot to really come of that. And like I said, I'm really thinking that it's still going to end up being pushed out to sea, but it's going to make a closer pass, if anything. If trends change, though, we will make update videos on that tropical system as well. So I guess the last thing to do here is to look at the model data, mainly looking at the wind shear here. The water is also going to be another key point of interest as well. But considering we're towards the back end of hurricane season now, we're starting to trend away from as much of a an area of interest as far as development is concerned. Gulf is still hot, and this, of course, can influence temperatures. But as a whole, in comparison to what we were once seeing, becoming a little less concerned about hurricane season. This is a look at the Atlantic, by the way. This corridor towards the Caribbean, Gulf, still pretty warm, about 30 degrees Celsius, so about 87 degrees Celsius in total, in Fahrenheit, basically. It's a little conversion for you. This area is still favorable but not impressive. The further north you go, though, the more we start to look like slop as far as the temperatures are concerned for development, which is good news. So I think we've kind of lived up to expectations so far as the season's concerned. Below average, well, not below average, but right about at average numbers, I would say. One, maybe two significant landfalls at best. I think just one with Idalia. But outside of that, not really a super memorable season outside of that. And we check the waters towards the Eastern Pacific. The thing is, and this is why I also think that land isn't going to be a big thing for this system if it does form into Lydia, is the fact that the waters get really cold, so another Cali impact is not likely. It definitely wouldn't have a lot of potency to it if it did make it up there somehow. Okay, Lexi. As long as you know that this may not be a good idea. That's all I'm gonna say. As long as you know what you're getting into, I'm not gonna stop you. The other guys, however, they may be on to you. The other guys like Isaiah, Contingents, and them, they might have something else to say about that in regards to whether or not that's the wisest move. But you're an adult, just like I am, so you know what you're doing. Anyway, as far as tropics are concerned, this is the reason why I'm not super concerned with it. Really strong wind shear over towards the U.S. Very unfavorable wind shear across the board here. Fair enough. But as far as the wind shear is concerned, not a lot expected to happen here. Really strong wind shear across even parts of the main development region towards the Caribbean. It's almost inhabitable for tropical development, and we even kind of saw that earlier with the mid-range runs where we were looking at a couple of systems trying to get going here on the fringe of those fronts, and then also with that ridge starting to kick in here. It's only going to keep that wind shear in place there. So with that being said, we're not going to have a high probability of impacts towards the U.S., not even towards the Caribbean, really. So we might be seeing the MDR get shut down momentarily here. I don't know for how long. Keep in mind, hurricane season goes all the way on to November 30th. So depending on how long this pattern lasts will tell a lot as far as our season's concerned. That's what the U.S. is showing right now. If we go over to the Eastern Pacific, it's pretty much going to be a similar deal. A lot of wind shear up to the north towards the U.S., towards the Baja. And as time goes on here, it's going to remain pretty persistent. So let's say Lydia does form from this. It's not going to have a really good lifeline here. Oh, your mom's born on November 30th. That's pretty sick. It's awesome. November squad. Stand up. I know you're in here, Isaiah. Stand up. I'm commanding you. Yeah, that's the name of the next storm in the Eastern Pacific. It will be Lydia. But, like I said, Lydia's not going to really do much of anything from the looks of it. Oh, he was November 25th. That's pretty cool too. That would have been cool to, I guess, get to know him then. I'm just kidding. It doesn't matter what month your birthday is. You guys are all cool. Lydia reminds you of Breaking Bad. I watched some of it, but I need to watch it all in order. I kind of just jumped in and out. But yeah, if we look at the wind shear here, oh, I'm going backwards. What am I doing? If we look at the wind shear here, nothing really to go off of for sure. So, as a whole here, nothing to really be worried about in the tropics. The mid-range looks kind of interesting, especially on the temperature side of things. Severe weather is going to be on the a little bit more on the down low, kind of waning a little bit right now. And then beyond that, really the question is what kind of effect will El Nino have on the winter right now? That's the real question that we're asking at this point with the video here. Then further along, like I said, hurricane season, we're starting to wane a bit now. So really, if anything is going to be going on, it's probably going to be over towards the Western Pacific. As far as the U.S. is concerned, nothing major going on right now. With that being said, that's all I got for the stream here. Probably not going to be a video tomorrow because I'm going to have to move all of this stuff back because they still didn't get to my window yet. So, big bummer there. I have to move my bed, all my guitars, all, well, it's El Nino, and actually, well, with this year's El Nino setup, it looks like y'all are going to see above average temperatures. The chances of snow still exist up there, obviously, but I don't think it's going to be quite that bad right now. Of course, I'm always watching the models, seeing how things develop from there. But over towards southern Canada, towards your area, you're looking like you're going to be dealing with a lot more above average temperatures and actually drier conditions. But across the board here, though, it just looks like things are starting to kind of calm down, which is nice. Be working on bonus content here. Memberships will probably be coming soon, and then we'll kind of go from there. Speaking of which, that intro that you hear on these streams sometimes, its days are numbered. It's a little hint. Some of you guys may know what I'm talking about if you were watching one of the recent streams. But that being said here, I'm out of here. I'm going to work on that bonus content for you guys, work on memberships, and much more. Hope to see you soon, especially once we get these renovations done. By the end of the week, or by the middle of the week, I should be up and running. And then on top of that, my car should be fixed. So, a lot of cool stuff ahead here. We just got to get back to some sense of normalcy. But until then, it's been Tired Metalhead Weatherman. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the stream, found it useful. You know what to do. Hit that share button, hit that like button. We're almost at 600. But till then, take care. Hope to see you really soon. You take care too, Lexi.